Inside the large tent erected on the southern end of the Galleria parking lot, a sensory surprise awaits. Paintings of 19th century Impressionist Vincent van Gogh are interpreted with 21st century computer animation set to an eclectic music score and projected onto the walls and floors of the Starry Night Pavilion. The creative and technical team of Beyond Van Gogh, the Immersive Experience, includes an art historian who chose some 300 works and writings for the project.
It was all about finding something in Van Gogh's work that was still relevant today and showing people just how relevant he could be. And so it was all about creating this journey from the get-go, about selecting pieces of Van Gogh's work that would really underline just the light, the beauty, and the sheer color and joy that are a part of all of his paintings.
Upon entering the pavilion, visitors learn Van Gogh's backstory, much of it through his own words, taken from correspondence with his brother Theo. Next is the waterfall room, where colorful pixels stream down a wall, appear to splash to the floor and flow across it. Finally, the immersive experience itself, like stepping through a giant frame to connect with the work of a brilliant yet emotionally troubled artist in a whole new way. Because of the pandemic, much of the planning for Beyond Van Gogh and its tour was done remotely, and team members, including Fanny Kiertat, were forced to work in isolation.
With this pandemic, being cooped up inside like we all were and struggling like we were, to have somebody who did struggle and was cooped up in an asylum and still managed to create Starry Night, there was a resonance to it that just made him feel even more relevant for us today.
Fanny Kiertat says she's especially excited about the St. Louis tour stop because visitors can attend the immersive experience and come here to the St. Louis Art Museum, which has 5 Vincent van Gogh paintings in its permanent collection.
We're really lucky because we have, as you say, 5 paintings, and they cover really the full range of Van Gogh's work. So you come to the museum and you can really sort of trace the evolution of Van Gogh's career. We have an early painting from 1884, which is a head of a peasant woman, when he's using a darker palette, very kind of muted, but actually has a really interesting range of color of blues and whites when you start to look at the painting. And then from there, we sort of move on to the more kind of characteristic work of Van Gogh. We have 2 paintings that he made when he was in Paris in 1887, Basket of Apples, a really beautiful painting where he's playing with complementary colors in a really fascinating way. And then we have a painting of Factories at Clichy, where he's experimenting with industrial subject matter, one of the first artists really to do that. And then sort of, kind of culminating the two final paintings that we have in the museum's collection are fascinating, important works, which were both painted really in the final days of his life. He spent the last 2 months of his life in a town called Auvers, just to the north of Paris. He painted 70 works there, and we have 2 of those at the St. Louis Art Museum, and they're generally seen as being the culmination of Van Gogh's work. So Stairway at Auvers is one of them over here, and then Vineyards at Auvers is the other here.
And the public can enjoy the genuine articles long after the immersive experience is gone. For Living St. Louis, I'm Ruth Ezel.